Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the material self. That is the topic 17 of our discussion for the subject understanding the self. So let's direct ourselves into our Google Classroom. Have you seen it? No. So as an overview of our Google Classroom, we have now this one, all our dates that we have for the online class. Let's have topic 17. So, first up, we have what's your opinion, wherein you are going to give your opinion about the question being asked. So, I have now graded 25 and have still 7 to give grades. And also have here the PDF file, no, the module itself. So, just going to click it once and read this one. So, what we are going to discuss today, naano na siya sa module itself. And the PowerPoint presentation. After reading this one or this one, the PDF file, they have the same content. You are going to then answer the question. Okay, so for this video is recorded for you so that you can also have this one if you don't want to read. No, you still have um, uh, the benefit of the doubt to view this video. Just wait for a minute. Okay, we have it now. So our topic again is the material self, under which this one topic we have to consider first what is materialistic or the economic self. So it has been given definition here. Materialism is a variable relevant to many aspects of economic psychology. A discussion of the potential relationships between materialism and several economic variables, including use of money, work, motivation, giving, and materialism. The use of economic goods in social communication and the potential role of materialism in such communication. That is the role of materialistic. Moving on, empirical self, we have um, three categories. We have material self, social self, and spiritual self. But first, let's first unlock what is empirical self. The term empirical self refers to all various ways people answer the question, who am I? This is according to William James, no, the proponent of empirical self. The empirical self of each of us, I, all that he is tempted to call by the name of me. So we have here the I and the me side of self. James went on to group the various components of the empirical self into three subcategories. We have here now the three. But today we're going to focus the material self. And we have here now the photo of my students. No? In these photos, what do you think is the same with all of them? So kaya the same, no? Not the same, but the particular concept. Of course, no? Each student has their what? Different hairstyles, of course. No? Ang hairstyle nila, different din sila, no? Napoy uban taas, uban short hair, no? Uban gani og headband na, no? Their wardrobes or their fashion statement, their clothing, perhaps. O, ganun. T-shirt lang, jacket, oh, t-shirt lang, and of course, status to the post. Of course, you cannot see this one. But, yeah, considering the lifestyle that you wanted, no? Na ay motor, na ay cellphone, no? Ana, these things have a really impact to our discussion, no? Which is about material or economics. Now, what is the definition of material self? No? The material self refers to the tangible objects, people, or places that carry the designation by my or mine. So there is a possessive pagmamayari. The two subclasses of the material self can be distinguished: the bodily self and the extracorporeal, beyond body self. Rosenberg, in 1979, has referred to the extracorporeal self as an extended self, bodily components of self. Ayun. We have now the explanation. What is bodily component of self? So, the bodily component of the material self requires little explanation. So, a person speaks of my arms and my legs, or my legs. These entities are clearly an intimate part of who we are, but our sense of self is not limited to our bodies. No? It includes other people, my children, pets, my dogs, your cats, anything, possessions, my car, other things, your motorcycle, the places, my hometown, and the products of our labor, my painting. It is not the physical entities themselves, however, that compromise the material self. Again, it is not the physical entities themselves, however, that comprise the material self. Since social self and other things has been mentioned, let me just read to you what are these categories, so that you have your background before unlocking these topics after the material self. James called the secondary category of the empirical self the social self. The social self refers to how we are regarded and recognized by others. Building on James' analysis, modern researchers have proposed that we also possess a relational self, the self defined in terms of specific interpersonal relationship. Interpersonal relationship. That means there is a communication with or among people. Also, we need to know also that we have two types of communication. It is interpersonal or intrapersonal. When say interpersonal, it's with the people, no? Social nga, di ba? Social stuff, okay? Included ang ubang tao. Kasi intrapersonal, that is in yourself. So, you're just talking merely to yourself. This intrapersonal. According to this one, the relational self includes all the individuals we regard as ours o ato, imo na, such as our parents, siblings, romantic partners, close friends, and colleagues. Evidence that these relationships represent important aspect of self-definition comes from a variety of sources. We have it 4 sources. First, people spontaneously mention others when describing themselves and include photographs of their family, loved ones, and friends when asked to prepare photographs that reveal something about who you are. No? Kinsa man ka? Oh, bakit na rin ng mga picture. Oh, moniko, naniko. Through pictures. And describing other people, no? They also assume that other people share their thoughts and feelings and sometimes confuse their own traits and attitudes for the traits and attitudes of others. Again, they also assume that other people share their thoughts and feelings, and sometimes confuse their own traits and attitudes for the traits and attitudes of others, no? Muna giingon nila nga, ila kay balang gikuan nga gi-assume nila or ilang gi nagpakakaraning nun, no? Nga kadung attitude sa ubang tao, ilan ang attitude. Kung ana ba? Mura kay baliog zaman, nagpakaroon ingnon. Third, as we shall see, people learn about themselves by comparing themselves with others and by seeing themselves reflected in other people's eyes. Maunang karon, no? Kung ang ani ang isa ka tao, isugid kay ni siya makamit ng iyang true happiness, no? Iyang kagustuhan sa kinabuhi. Ngano ka? Anong kinahanglan naman i-compare, di ba? No? Gina-compare nila ilang sa ubang tao. Like for example, uy, nganong siya na may car, ako wala man. No? Nganong siya, yung ani man kakuan sa iyang parents. Nga na ba, gina-compare. Ngano kung igsuon, in ani man, ako dili mo siguro ko, no, gina-compare nila. Kaya nga na ilang nakita sa ubang tao. Finally, people describe themselves in relationship-specific terms. For example, they might say, I am respectful with my boss or playful with my children. These relationship-specific identities are activated whenever we interact with other person or are reminded of their presence. Oh, ganun, no? Kung naay sa katao na wala ginahangaan, ginin mo, no? Or crush, gibalinin mo, or not specifically crush, but something you're looking up to. Parang ganun. And you tend to, what? Have that kind of attitude when you're in, inana po ang kibali ang attitude sa kana nga specific na tao. Na-remind ka, of course, imong gi-attribute po mo, no? Or imo pong gikuha ang iyang attitude. The third category in James' scheme is the spiritual self. The spiritual self is our inner self or our psychological self. It is comprised of our self-perceived abilities, attitudes, emotions, interests, values, motives, opinions, traits, and wishes. Many aspects of the spiritual self are evaluative. People think of themselves as attractive or unattractive, intelligent or unintelligent, and honest or dishonest. Ano siya? Ngayon nga, kahambol ni mo dili man. Kagwapa ni mo dili man. Mo? Ka bright ni mo dili mo ko bright. Oh, nana, no? It is interesting to note the close connection James draw between our possessions, which are aspects of the material self, and our emotions, attitudes, and beliefs, which are components of the spiritual self. As Abelson in 1986 observed, the similarity is captured in our language. A person is said to have a belief from the time the belief is first acquired to the time it is discarded or lost. We also say things like, I inherited a view, or I can't buy that. Finally, we speak of people who have abandoned their convictions or disowned an earlier position. These terms imply that possessions and attitudes share an underlying conceptual property. They are both owned by the self. Now we have the quote, no one is you and that is your power. Attained by this one, you need to reflect for this quote. Or be yourself, everyone else is already taken. And this famous quote, I have, therefore I am. I have, therefore I am is comparing ourselves with others, wanting to leave them or be in their position, will lead us to constantly feeling dissatisfied and never happy with what we have. This is also what consumerism wants because it makes people active consumers on a regular basis. Thus, consumerism not only affects our behavior, it also affects our thinking process. No? Muna ka na itabo nga, uy, kinahanglan ta mag-consume. Like, ano, dapat mo atong ipakuan sa mga tao nga mo consume jud sila. No? Kaya kung dili po sila mo consume, unsa may kuan sa mga companies, of course. No? There would be no production also. But later on, we'll discuss that one. No? In this part, we're going to focus on the consumerism, which has been defined here. No, consumerism wants because it makes people active consumers on a regular basis. That is how the process of consumerism is done. No, of course there should be a consumers who is going to consume those products. No, of course, kung wala consumers, unsa na lang ang mga company. And it says, life is an open book. No? Of course, I really agree with this one. Life is an open book because, ano ka ha? No? Like a book, you're going to open those pages and you're going to fill those pages with, of course, no, writing, magsulat ka with your experiences. The problem with consumerism, we're done knowing what is consumerism. We need the ways for them for us to consume food, no, or products. Now we're going to have the problems with consumerism. First is it is intrusive. Second, it is manipulative. It cannot provide many of the things that are important to us. Fourth, it restricts our choices and lives. And fifth, it affects our worldviews and characters rather. And sixth, it is unsustainable. And as an overall, no, this is really a burden. It's going to be, yes, it is really a problem, no, for the consumerism. Ginamanipulate atong thinking na buy goods. So, for example, um, example would be Shopee and Lazada, no? Wala, kada week na lang sila mag-sale, no? Na ikaw pud nga consumer, maengganyo pud ka kay of course pag mingon ganig sale mga tao na gina mag-agpas gina no kay oh my god gamay ra kaayo oh my god kun ani man 50% off no, although it is not important to buy those things but knowing that it is on sale mas ganahan jud kang mo palit no mo na ka rin mo na biskan dili lagi kuan lagi mo lagi unsustainable gud siya kay kanang it's manipulative no kay bisan lagi dili importante no. Mabuhi gud kag wala to ng mga butang pero nganong paliton na gyud nimo like for example mana ka nga uy gusto gid ko mopalit og ana nga laptop no or gusto gid ko ana nga laptop pero na kay laptop karon pero gusto lagi ko mo katong latest nga iPhone pero na kay iPhone 8 karon no mga ana na mga butang ba. Now how to avoid the trap no, avoiding the trap. Consumerism with here is intricately woven into the fabric of modern society. Yes, much more today in 21st century. Society needs a cultural shift to move away from the culture of consumerism. And social changes do not happen overnight of exactly, no? Kanang imong kuan karon practice nga attitude dili na siya mawagtang in just isa ka gabi, no? Katugan na nimo na siya mawala dayon. No. Therefore, it is best to take immediate steps in your own life to realize or to release yourself from the grip of consumerism. No? Hinay-hinay na siya. Nagilang na, hinay-hinay basta kanunay. So, how to avoid the trap? So, these are the list. First is Exercise intellectual independence. Be aware of how consumerism controls your life. Try to defend yourself from unwanted external pressures. Ignore advertising. Think for yourself and question all information to you and start looking for information yourself. No? Muna siya. It's like having a metacognitive questioning or thinking. Muna kasi yung kagalingon, kinahanglan ka na ko ni siya nga gamit or butang, no? Unsa nimo siya ka-need? Pila ka percentage? No? Ikaw mong self nimo. Para unsa man ako ni nga ako ni paliton. O ana ba? Mag-think twice gid ka before mo buy. Consume less and live more. Stop and think about the influences of consumerism in your life. Think about what really matters to you and how you want to live it. Strive to live the life you want, not how others think you ought to live, no? Dili na basis nga kung unsay naa sila napod imo, no? Just try to live your life kanang gusto gid nimo nga life, no? Dili ila o di sa alayang tao, but imo, no? That's why it is being emphasized here, the word you. There is no friend as loyal as a book. Wala. Sa kami ani sa mga dira ni mga friend dira no nga dili loyal. So many books, so little time. Tinuod no. Daghan na kaayo mga gusto pero good kay time. I shop, therefore I am. Therefore I am. Sige pasud anak ka, I shop daw, therefore I am. In the I shop, therefore I am. Trend report. We are looking into the world of consumer culture. Shopping has turned into a lifestyle. Nood. And what point does the accumulation of material goods become less fulfilling and more stressful and overwhelming? Sakaha. People are slowly realizing that the power of consumption is stopping us from finding true and sincere happiness, and that shopping often works as a substitute for something that we are missing in life. No? As a primary consumer, the issue is about what we buy and what we choose to invest in. Like for example, sa bata pa ka dili ka kanang kuan, wala kay mga toys, wala kay mga things to play with. That's why pagtako nimo, ginabay gid nimo tanan mga things no, kanang mga toys no, para ma-fulfill lang nimo kay mo na missing sa imong life. Which is really true, di ba? For example, ay sa una gusto jud nimo ni ana ba? Gusto jud nako ni sa una nya wala lang lagi dili na ako kay way kwarta pero kung daghan ay kwarta mo palit gid to. Oh? That is something that you are missing in life, no? Kana na mga things. But the thing is, what we buy and what we choose to invest in, are they good? Kana imong ibang palit dira o kana imong invest nimo. Are those things have a significant impact to your future or to you as a person right now? Tsaka no? Consumption and production. Now, consume. When I say consume, it is defined as a use up to spend wasteful to destroy. No? Grabe nga word destroy, wastefully. The definition shows that consumption has a positive and negative connotation and meaning. Of course, no, as I've stated, use up, that is positive. To spend wastefully, it's negative, no? And to destroy, it's negative. Like the word consume, no? Kasi consume, of course, you are going to have to use a lot of resources. But how are you going to use that to how are you going to consume, no? In your way would be positive, of course. Positive, negative, good na siya. But in every consumption, there is production, of course. Kung na ay consumption, na po yung production. Kung kukuha mo ng tao, gapalit mo ang tao, na good na ka-supply po. That is the production. Consumers keep the companies alive, of course. Kinsa na lang yung palit sa mga products sa companies kung wala consumers. These companies pay people whose earnings, rather, put food on the table. Such is the pattern of consumption. Thus, it cannot be denied that consumption is important, of course, no? It's like a chain, no? Paliton, tapos mag-produce sila. Ano lang na, paliton, produce sila. Kung sige sila produce, so yung palit, no? Wala igyapon. Diba? There is an exchange, no? Conscious consumption. What do you mean conscious consumption? What do you mean by being conscious? Consumers are often portrayed as victims, exploited by greedy companies. However, you should take note that every person has free will. Therefore, choices are important, and so as the consumer's responsibility and obligations to the world. Free will. According to their to this, their choices whether to buy or not. Conscious consumption is about practicing responsible buying habits. Motong yung na, no? Considering your wants and your needs. Asa man dapat ang mauna? Needs ba or wants? Unsa ka kadets? Psychological and sociological consumption. As mentioned earlier, for many people these days, with the younger generation as the vulnerable group, happiness seems to attach to buying something. Exactly, no? Consumption has become an addiction. Many people have forgotten there are things in life that can bring true happiness and lasting happiness. Unsa kaya gid ang makahatag og lasting happiness and true happiness, such as spending time with family or with friends, or to have me time. Me time meaning, of course, to date yourself as well. No, have an inner peace within you. Enjoy nature, of course. Go on an adventure, no, or to read. Sitting in a corner, having some tea or coffee or any drinks that you wanted to have. Those were for the psychological and sociological consumption. We also have identity and consumer culture. First, from Match 1993, argued that identity is a symbolic idea. It is an image we build for ourselves through social interaction. Thus, the person's identity is dynamic and context dependent. It is improved through communication with others and through different ways that a person interacts within the cultural atmosphere and social relation. Ayun. So, muna karon, no, as defined by the identity, the word identity is being defined. And it says, the social interaction daw ang gahimo og identity about to yourself. Doon tong siya nga theory gani, mga kadet, no? So, through social interaction, you build your identity as a person. We also have factors that affect identity. We have social relations of power and symbolic image of the world. What do you mean by that one? Social relation. Economic sociology is particularly attentive to the relationships between economic activity, the rest of society, and changes in the institutions that contextualize and condition economic activity. Huh? When it's social man, so it include it includes group of people. Of course, we have now the economic activity and the rest of the society. No, it is for social relations of power. We also have symbolic image in the world, generally asserted that the state and the economy exist in a symbiotic relationship. When I say symbiotic relationship, the state depends on the economy for revenue and the economy. Just like, for example, in school, no, a private school. So, moto, nagpa-enroll ang mga bata. Of course, a school cannot generate without the tuition, no? Ang payment sa mga students. So, for example, kuan, dili pud ma silduhan ang mga teacher kung wala pud ang mga estudyante dili mo og tuition, no? Muna ang importante gyud kaayo mga kadet nga during exams, no? Bayad gyud mo, no? Kay dili lang kamo, of course, I know that during these times, no? Ang kalisod jud ta, no? Kay walay tarong nga work. Well, of course, how about us? Unsaon na lang pud mi, no? Of course, muna na siya nga wala pud day process sa school. So kung kakuan mo kanang, of course, mo take exam, there's bayad gid og tuition, no? Mo ra gid siya cycle lagi po na sa cadets, no? Naging symbiotic relationship. Or like for example karon, no? Amakon walay work, no? Munang nagproblema pod ang atong government kay sige na ta balik hatag og ayuda, ayuda, ayuda. Pero wala may mobalik sa government nato. Munang problema gid ang mga countries karon, no? Gihatag sila og money, no? Ang ilang gusto sa mga tao ra ba karon kay gusto nila nga tagaan sila perminting ayuda. Unya unsa man to sige na tag ayuda pero wala man pud, no? Walay mabalik sa atong government, no? Unsa man pag-expedite sa mga kwarta. So according to Eric Erikson of 1950, he was the one who proposed the word identity, a social category defined by membership rules, characteristics, attributes, or expected behaviors. Second is socially distinguishing features that an individual takes pride in having. That is according to Eric Erikson. Meanwhile, studies have observed that every waking moment in a modern lifestyle has become a cycle, no? Of what kind of cycle? Of alternating time space for work and time space for consumption, of course, no? Nagtrabaho ka para pod naapoy pangbayad for consumption, no? Para pod naapoy makaon, no? Outline the some main features and characters in consumer culture. This is now the outline by Sociological, 2007. Number one is culture, or rather consumer culture is a culture of consumption. Second is a culture of market society. Third is universal and impersonal. When I say universal, no? Dili lang sa Pinas, but around the world. Universal man siya. Identifies freedom with the private choice in life, of course. Still, although we have this one, consumption, we need to go out to consume, no? We still have this kind of freedom. Of course, the freedom to choose. Alam mo, kanuon ka grab mais niya, dili ka makaog mais nga rice, no? Lain sab. Og four, consumer culture identifies, rather, fifth, consumer needs are insatiable and unlimited. Ito mo na, consumer needs are unlimited. Of course, no? As people, no, as a human, na ginay murag di ka satisfied ba? So it means, okay, if you got this one, gusto na pud kaglain. Ano ba? Unlimited good kayo siya. Consumer culture is a privileged medium for building personal identity and status. Yeah, building personal identity and status, no? To this one also, oh, dira naging may balaan kung dato ba or mapobre. As previously mentioned, consumerism is one of the strongest forces, no? And this is gonna be the overview or the synthesis. As previously mentioned, consumerism is one of the strongest forces affecting modern people's lives. The term consumerism does not simply mean the constant barrage and intrusion of ads in our lives, but everything that is connected to the modern society idea that to be happier and more successful, we have to buy, and buy, and everything that we need to buy. We slip into a cycle of wanting more things to get that new iPhone model, get the latest gadget, wear the trendiest clothes, hang out in place where cool people go, or etc. The pursuit of these things take up our time, energy, and money. We do not have much more these days. We do not have money, people. We also tend to compare ourselves with some of the other people, and social media reinforces this tendency, no? So be aware, no, that everything in social media, it could be a bad or a good, no? Dili tanan ipansak sa huna-huna nga sakto na tanan. Of course, no? You need to have that kind of thinking. As a conclusion for this one, when you pray, God listens. When you listen, God talks. And you believe, God works. So, this is going to be the end statement. And thank you for listening to this topic.